Apologies, everybody. We're going to get this special show going right now. We're going to pull our brother up, Jason Estes. We're live on Facebook now. If these shows resonate with you, please share, as we're being suppressed in no uncertain terms by Facebook. And also, thank you for your continued love and support and contributions that actually just helped us go all halfway across the country. We couldn't do it without you. So I just want to say good night and all the Soulogy family. All right, let's bring our brother on.
Hello.
What's happening?
I'm just doing the sharing.
Sorry about the delay.
Oh, no worries, man.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Let me get this stuff.
We just pulled in like 30 minutes ago, and yeah, my friend's got this incredible setup here. I mean, it's like, I wish I could show it to y'all. It's incredible.
That's awesome.
And so I was going to go in and use the computer, and I don't have my Zoom password. So it was like, because it's always on, it's saved.
I totally get that. That happens to me all the time. All right, that's now closed.
Okay.
That's now closed. All right, awesome.
So it's been an incredible 2019. It's been an incredible October, and November has just taken it to another level.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it has.
Yeah, I'm anxious. So I'm anxious to see what your intel is and what's happening, and we're going to talk about that. But what's going on with you? Relations. Let me fix my hair. That looks like a beast.
You have a red connection, just so you know. So we might get disconnected.
Do what now?
Your connection is red, and now it's yellow, but it was red a second ago.
Really? The weather's a little funny over here. We should be all right.
Now you're white again, so we're good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So with me, I'm just kind of exploring what the 2020 will bring, and so far I have not been disappointed. Just constantly learning about all these new things that are coming out next year that are going to make the world that much better. Hearing about new ways that banking is going to be done. Like at the very end of 2020, this new bank called Spiral Bank comes out, and it's designed to basically give people back their money and give money to nonprofits to help the world become better. So just so many cool, amazing things that just keep showing up.
Wow. That's big. That's big.
That's really big, because there's a lot of idea out there for like decentralizing currency and stepping out. And I think that that's going to be the way that we go eventually. I really do. But I think that we need a middle ground, a place where we're here now and we want to be here, right? And so to see that that's actually formed, like this person initialized, they got all the money they needed to do the startup, everything, and now they're preparing all the technology and everything that's needed to have this new bank open. And I'm going to be moving all my money over to it whenever it opens, because I believe in it. It's very, very real. It's also insured by the FDIC, so just like all the other banks, except instead of them taking the
now, is this something you downloaded or something you've come across?
No,
I'm just curious.
Someone that's in training to join MTVO. It's his grand vision, and his name's Sean, and he actually has done all the groundwork and everything. And he used to work for a huge banking company, and he left because he didn't like where it was headed. So one day I'd like you to have him on the show as well, because I think that when he launches this bank, it's going to change the world.
Wow, that's huge. Now, what about my you know how curious I am, but the other thing was that it's FDIC insured. Is that even going to be in place, do you think?
I don't know, but the fact that he was willing to go ahead and get the paperwork necessary so that it could be is important to me. I feel like if we build things inside the current game that expand the current game, that's a win, even if it's not necessary a year from now. It's kind of like everything that we're doing with Center for Expansion is completely above board. Do I think it will matter a year from now? I'm not sure. There's so many updates and upgrades that are going to be happening in 2020 that things could be completely different. But if I don't act now to plan for the future, then when I get to the future, I don't have the foundation I need.
Right on.
Worst case scenario, that's not ideal.
Right on. And what about on a personal level? And then when I say personal, I mean each one of us on a personal level. I know the global stuff is out there, and we're all kind of not on pins and needles, but we're looking at the external to kind of validate our own evolution. What do you see on a personal level for people in these circles, people that are here today, in terms of 2020?
2020 is going to be one of the best years. It's going to start out really strong and hard because we're going to be integrating chaos, which is huge to say the least. Like right now, we're in the process of a timeline merge where the two timelines are coming together and order and harmony are meeting. And so that's creating the base of the triangle, right? And the final piece is chaos. And when that piece comes together, it creates unity. But we don't actually step into unity until like the middle of 2020. So we're in a process of integrating our harmonious aspects in order and chaos to come together into unity. And that's what 2020 is this year where we come into unity together so that we can rise together, so that we can actually change the world together. But the first part of 2020 is really just cleaning up our own individual selves so that we can play together. Because when we integrate that chaos timeline, that's going to be huge. That's every chaotic decision you could have ever made and all the repercussions for it, and you learning to accept and be okay with it without judging it.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel real. Just like these last few weeks have felt real with the harmony timeline coming in, people just being like, I feel like an entire lifetime has been lived. Well, yeah, it was an entire lifetime that was lived. And all of the things that you learned along the way were integrated. And all the judgments you had for those things were very real. And that's what we're in the process of until the 28th, is just taking that information and handling it. Like we're at 120 data points right now per hour. 120. That is massive. I think you froze.
Yeah. Here. I'm still here.
Okay.
If I fade out, I'll still be here. Now, you're talking about these data points, and I don't want to go to the just yet, but you said 128, and I remember meeting you about this time a year ago. And if we were talking about, I know the big number would have been like 50.
Yeah, that number would have crashed
like
our minds to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that, and which I think is what a lot of people have been feeling, certainly in October and November, and even the last week, the 21st, 22nd seemed to be huge.
Yeah.
And that is that this stuff is coming before them, obviously to be cleared. It's not always, perfectly understood, but the information there and the universal energy seems to be supporting our own expansion by removing illusions, removing the conditioning, removing the shadows, with our courage, bravery to go in and face them, obviously. But you're saying this is going to continue through the end of the year and the first part of 2020 as well.
Well, actually on the 28th, we'll go back to 68 data points per hour, which is still extremely high, but it's halved basically. So that's why December is the month of rest. It's basically a deep cave mode where we're going to be going very deep into ourselves to prepare, to clean up, to stabilize. So December is very chill in the sense of you're going to be going inward and you're not really going to be able to act much out in the world. It's going to be like everything almost seems paused, but it's not. So your internal responsibilities and your responsibilities in the world are going to be there, but opportunities aren't going to be coming nearly as much. It's going to be work on yourself. And that's basically December.
Yeah.
And it's very gentle when it comes to influxes. We stay around 68 points the whole time. So it's not too rough. Then January comes. And January we go to 140 data points. So it's like, and now it really begins. But that only lasts until the end of January. So
I mean, and again, I love to bring it down. I love talking to you because the way we can bring it down to the human, the divine human experience in transition 28 and 140. That is this, a pretty good indicator of what people talk about with the energies. Oh, I felt the energies coming in. Why is this stuff popping up?
Yeah.
Why am I feeling like this? I thought I was done with this stuff. And can you elaborate on that?
Well, you're never going to be done with this stuff. Like it's just not going to happen because you're on a planet to evolve. And so you wouldn't want to ever be done with this stuff. But the way that you handle it and the speed that you can handle it is what the data points allow, which is really nice. So if you're not holding on to something tight like this, then like if your hands are open, the data just flows through you and it cleans up all of the misunderstandings and you feel great.
No.
But if you aren't willing to let go of an identity or a belief or a label or something that just makes you whole in your own mind, be prepared to get shaken. I mean, that's how it goes. At 140, there, good luck. Try holding on to something at 140. That, good luck. At 90 points, that's when it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right. But we're already over 90. And that's why a lot of people are being shaken up so hard right now. But it's only temporary.
Yeah.
We'll permanently be over 90. Let me see. Yeah. So we cross over in May into the 90s and it stays there. And it will continuously evolve, but it will never go lower. So in May of next year, we are over what our mind can process. It is literally impossible for you to have your mind handle things. Your ego can no longer conceptualize the information that is streaming in. And that's one of the reasons why this 120 is so awesome, is because for those that are letting go, they're realizing who they actually are really fast.
Yeah.
When we get to 140, even if you don't want to let go, you're letting go.
And it's like, okay, we pulled into Sedona, I think 3 nights ago, right? It would have been 3 nights ago. We left California on the 22nd. We arrived to Sedona on the 23rd. So it'd be the 23rd and 24th. We had some plans. We were like, okay, let's make sure we take care of ourselves, make sure that we stay on on point. But let's look some people up. But we get there and it was 48 hours of just, she went this way and I went that way. And I said, I'll see you at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But what I was getting at, and the point you made that I thought was very relevant, was in my own, I can only speak for myself and I can speak for Morgan a little bit, but there was less okay, what is this and what is that? I heard a phone, do a live video, and I did one the first night, I did one the second night. I don't even know what I said, but I know that it was like I had to. It was like a channeling coming in and the words coming out at the same time. But I think you made a great point. The mind was kind of left out of it, other than when we communed at night. The mind was being talked to by our the you, me, we, and it, the higher aspects, and saying, here's what's happening, da 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 da, da 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 da, and then metaphorically, in my case, a dragon came in and just blew fire up through my chakras, and I'm getting all the intel, but it was like put to the side, almost like an observer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that's divine expression, is whenever the information bypasses the mind because it's so high level that it just flows right through. And then your ability to compress that data is so far away that it literally gets set over here. And then later they update your body and then they give you the information. You're like, oh yeah, no, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
But things are out of phase right now, meaning that you might have this information here, which is actually related to this information here, but it's not actually time for you to have this information here. So you're right here going, what is going on? And then all of a sudden all things will arrange and you're like, oh yeah, it all makes sense now. And that's normal when we go so fast at like 120 data points. I mean, we jumped from 60 something to 120 in the course of less than 8 seconds. So there was nothing to catch up. It was like being rubber banded and then like thrown around, and it was like, wait, this is what's happening now. Gonna be okay with it. Letting go even deeper, right? And that's all you can do. And moving forward, like I said, when we cross over 90, anytime we're over 90, there's no holding on. But when you get to 140, you're so far above 90 that just good luck holding on. I mean, at that point, it could actually physically cause sickness, like major diseases, even death, because you're moving so fast and trying to hold on. It doesn't work. And as we progress further and further throughout the year, we're going to be getting up into that number naturally. That will be our norm. By the end of 2023, we're probably going to be sitting at like 200. So there's no stopping this. It's going to keep going up and keep going up and keep going up and keep going up. Venus is several thousand per hour. So if we're going to be taking the place of Venus in the ascension game and actually becoming an ascended master community for the Earth, being an ascended planet, we're going to be going up into those higher numbers. The difference is, and this is what I want everyone to hear, the information that's streaming is always pure truth. So The only time that it ever causes any form of upset whatsoever is when you are holding on to something or you believe something that isn't true. So when you're streaming at like 1,000 points, that's great. 1,000 points means like you're in perfect truth and absolute harmony, unity, everything is coming around. All the information you've ever wanted to know about any of your lifetimes ever, and all the wisdom, purely just there. You're in a stream of consciousness. We're slowly elevating into the stream of consciousness. And the pressure of density, like if you think of the ocean and like deep down in the ocean, you're compressed because the pressure of the ocean. And as we elevate up, we're coming out. But as we're coming up, things are bubbling out of us that we didn't even know were compressed into us because our identity was crushed into us instead of our actual truth. And then society constantly crushes stuff into you saying, hey, you're this, oh, you're that, you're this. And then we started to believe it because we didn't know any better. And now that we're coming out of that compression, all these untruths are just floating out of us. And eventually we're going to get into the higher level and you're going to start to feel the sun's rays, that warmth and that coldness that you've been in, that depression, that fear, that anxiety is going to start to melt off of you because the light of source is going to come through you so strongly and you're going to have so much room that eventually you're just going to be playing on a beach over by an ocean and you're not going to be compressed. You're going to be completely free.
Swimming with the dolphins.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things that kind of jumped out was the message. I'm going to just try to put it in layman's terms, but the message was simply, you know, it was like, okay, you're going to see this energy. It's the old energy. You can either engage it or you can see it for what it is and move forward.
Yep.
If you try to engage it, if you get pulled into it, okay, and you can imagine this, you know, as well in a relationship like Morgan and I, going through each step of this together, very, very much talking about it all the time, that if you engage that, it becomes extremely uncomfortable down that path. This is just my own experience. Coming in, the code coming in will not allow it. It's like saying, hey, it's not even let go or be dragged. It's more like let go or die.
Yep.
You know? So, but it's I'm amazed at the clarity of what's coming in. And I've told Morgan for the last, I want to say probably 4 to 5 weeks, I'm getting so much stuff in every single day, all day long. I can't even tell you what it is. And that's what I was talking about earlier when you were saying what you were saying. It's more of, I don't want to say surrender, but like an allowance, like allow this, accept it, allow it, and just know it's happening and trust and believe. And that's it, you know? And for me, that's helped me a lot. I've had a couple of shaky moments, but for the most part, the last few weeks, I've felt the intensity, but at the same time, I've been able to say, you know what? I don't need to understand. I'm getting some of this information. I'm getting enough fragments in to know that I'm on the right path, you know? So it's colossal what's happening. Now you put this post up and I wanted to ask you about it. Now you're saying, okay, so 2.1 billion people on the ascended line, another 5 billion coming in January. Now this is where, so this means when the final timeline merge is completed around the end of January, we will be at one world for the first time since the fall. Let's stop there for a second. I mean, that sounds absolutely almost utopic. I mean, that sounds like, whoa. And I understand that energetically things happen first and it might take a while for this to play out. But this is where we're at, right?
It's going to be interesting because so on around the 9th-ish, Chaos as a timeline leader, the Chaos timeline leader joins the timeline. And that's the largest group of people. So first of all of the fear, all of the struggle, all of the chaos that has been in this world has been on a transit line. So it's not been part of the ascension line. So the fact that these are going to be coming together means that we as a collective are going to get to face that. The good news is many of those 2.1 billion are examples so strongly that the chaos will just dissolve once it's met. And that's what we've been training our lives for, is to be very, very strong examples in the collective. When we walk out into the world has choice. We don't ask, we don't say anything, we just are, right? And so when that first wave of chaos hits the earth, that first group of people that have been here, the 300 million plus people, are going to get hit with that. And it's all of the things they can't accept within themselves that are going to ripple out into everyone else. And so then that 2.1 billion is going to process whatever that 300 million can't. And then all the other stuff will come out as like a template for these new people that arrive. So basically what I see is around May 18th-ish, when restrictions are faded from the planet, I think probably maybe even May 15th, we'll have processed through that wave of chaos completely. And all that'll be left is truth. So I think that around then, we're going to begin to move towards peace. And if everything goes well, we could even be in world peace by 2021. That would be incredible. 2022, 2021 is what the average like idea is. But we can't do that until we face down chaos, until we accept the chaos within ourselves as part of the journey that we were going towards unity. Because you can't understand order without chaos, and you can't understand chaos without order, and you can't understand how they work together without harmony. And so the fact that all three of these leaders who have been basically creating a game, actually, I'll go ahead and cover this because a lot of people ask me this question, so this will just help a lot of people. A timeline leader is basically like someone who creates a video game. And a lot of people want to play that video game. So a timeline leader created a game for order so that anyone who played this game would learn how to be in the essence of order. Another timeline creator creates a game where people want to come play it because it teaches them chaos and like helps them to get their chaotic echelons in. And then another one creates a harmony one so that people can study the concept of harmony and things that are in dissonance around that. So all of those game creators are going to share one game. Now, if one creator can create an entire world where people have lots of fun and are able to learn what they need to learn, can you imagine what three can do?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's called a master line. The last time this was attempted was in Atlantis, and that's the reason that it fell apart. Because to come together with such clarity creates confusion in the places where they don't sync up. And so the timeline leaders have to be in complete cohesion so that it can actually come into coherence and elevate into unity. And that's very hard to do because the entire timeline has to accept the change in the game. And that's what we've been going through these last few years is the timelines choosing games, saying, you know what, I want to play that game. I'm okay with playing that game. And then slowly but surely, the timeline started getting closer and closer because the one game they wanted to play was Unity. So they had to meet in the middle.
Let me see if I've got all this straight. Around the 9th or 10th of January, there's going to be, let's just say, an infusion or a magnification of chaos. And the purpose of this is to, one, show us the contrast, and two, for us to, it sounds like, to actually accept that, not reject it, but to accept it and take it within us and hold that space. Now you got this first group, let's say, I think you said 300 million, and they're going to be faced with what's not true, the chaos or whatever you want to call it. And some are going to do it, some are not going to do it. But then there's going to be like a bleed through that's going to go to this next 2.1 billion, who are then going to take that on. So one of the things that sounds very encouraging in regard to is that the first group doesn't have to do it all. That if there's some spillage, then the next group gets it, and then the third group gets it. But the ultimate outcome is a more balanced collective state and a higher potential.
Yeah. So instead of it being one timeline, another timeline, and then the fragments, it's your first group is going to receive all this information, what they can't process into a template, which means bring chaos and confusion into wisdom. Then the next group behind them will handle, and then what they can't process, then the final group will handle. But in the end, it doesn't matter because that same template that the first group created is going to be what the last group works with. So it actually bridges us together with one concept. And then all of us begin to explore unity together. But we have to finally process out the chaos. Like if we don't process out that chaos, there's no hope. And until we have hope back, we're not going to be able to do what we came here to do. And like I was saying in this post, you know, a lot of people have been disheartened because the ascension had failed so many times. Like in my lifetime alone, it's failed so many times that it's like, okay, well, is it really going to happen this time? But The last ascension actually did happen, which again was in October of 2017. That one completed. And that was enough of a level of a template that humanity acknowledged it and began the process of merging in together. And so a few years ago, we actually created the template, but now humanity is catching up to that template. And that's where we are right now as a society, is we're going, okay, you know what? This is what I want. I want to be in unity. I want to be in harmony. I actually don't like walking down the street and seeing this person starving to death.
Yeah.
I feel that it is kind of my responsibility to help the world become better now. And I'm seeing it constantly with a lot of the really high-ranking people in the world. They're giving more and more of their time, their own energy, their ideas. There's a lot more open source concepts coming out. Like, slowly but surely, the world has progressed into this place where it's starting to take care of itself and starting to work with others to create even better outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it.
Yeah. And then on the personal divine and human journey, there seems to be, you know, in my observance and sitting in this chair, and in my own experience, I own up, and that is that, like, the whole thing with the victimhood and the blame, you know, there can't be, there cannot be, we cannot be without a victim if there is blame going around. But what I'm trying to say is the shame, the blame, the victimhood seems to really be in everybody's face. You can see it through their projections and so on. And this kind of, I can see the correlation to what you're talking about in a more general scale, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, and I guess my question is, this is the part that isn't just going to go away. I mean, we actually have to do the work in order to bring the magic that's on the other side of it through. So there is no, hey, you know what, you can all take a breath now. And like I said a minute ago, you know, when I was describing some people's journeys about, oh my God, this is back again, I thought we were done. I didn't mean about all of it being done. I just meant like one particular thing. But there seems to be a deeper drilled down, you know, epiphany or revelation with some of this stuff that's coming in. Like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. I mean, like I was, you know, I was jealous at this level I didn't see, you know, 5 years ago. These things are popping up. This is part of the process you're talking about. This is what's happening on an individual one-to-one basis between us and the universe. It's like, here's your stuff. This is what you need to face up to. This is what you need to own up to. Does that sound?
So that's called access, right? And this is a principle that I get a lot of shit on, because people are constantly like, well, what gives you the right to have access and me not have access? And I'm like, okay, I can explain that to you really simply. Are you responsible with your life? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm super responsible with my life. I'm like, okay, cool. So did you pay your bills on time? No? Okay. Good job, right? So our lives are important. They teach us what we're not responsible with. It literally constantly shows up. People get irritated, they get into resentment, all these things happen. I've heard from so many spiritual teachers, they say that they teach their students to be responsible. And I'm like, okay, cool. So how is that working? And they're like, oh, it's working really well. They're paying their bills on time and everything's going well. And I'm like, but you're not. So I'm kind of confused here. How is this the way that it is? And they're like, well, you know, it's not a big deal if I don't pay my bills. My mom pays them for me. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. You're a spiritual teacher. You're trying to teach responsibility, but you're not being responsible. And that's kind of like what I see a lot of these days.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you can't be responsible for your own life and your own world, teaching other people to be responsible doesn't really work. You can teach them the idea of it, but not the example of it. And I have a feeling, very strong feeling, that in January, a lot of people are going to get thrown out of their houses and all kinds of very interesting experiences, because letting people do the work for you is becoming less and less a thing. And this is not on them. This is not bad. This is not good. It's just where we are, right? So you were talking about victim. Victim is the lowest level of the fourth dimension. It's the moment that you can acknowledge that something else has more power than you.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a true statement that something else has more power than you from an infinite game, right? But from a linear stamp, it is. If you believe something is more powerful than you, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That means that you've given the power to something else to show you that you can be powerful. But it's your choice. Humanity is going to learn that lesson very, 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 very strongly in 2020. because 2019 was the training wheels version of responsibility. 2020, there are no training wheels. You either work through your shit or you die. And I know that that sounds like extreme, but that's the truth. Like when you're sitting at 120 data points natural, you can't afford to not be responsible. That's like driving a car at 120 miles an hour. Every move can kill you, but you can get to your location much faster. You can also go far away from your location much faster. So if you're not on course, be prepared to find out that you're not on course very fast. And I want to go ahead and point this out because a lot of people might think that I'm judging their life. On course is a personal thing. And you know if you're on course or not. Your reality, everything will show you when you're on course. You will feel it inside of you. You'll be healthy, you'll be happy, and you'll have some form of practice that's adding momentum to you, that's keeping things processed so that you're not backlogging. So on course is completely up to you and your own divinity and your own alignment. Like I'm not saying that you're not on course, but I can tell you, if your life is throwing things at you and you're getting knocked out left and right, you're probably not on course. Again, that's between you and yourself to discuss.
Yeah. And maybe another way to say that too, because this is what I came across the other night, was like, there's no right and wrong. I understand that, but right in the sense of being in alignment with this energy. If you're not in alignment with this energy, then what you're talking about is gonna rear its head much quicker now and much more powerfully. And I was having lunch with a friend a few weeks ago, and she was saying, we were talking about the same thing. And she said, if you don't stick with it, and she used this term, your higher self is going to put you in an embarrassing situation.
Very much.
And I think that's an extreme about what you said about, being way over there very quickly. I wanted to touch real quick too on something you just said, which I think is really important. And really it was in your post too. At the end of the post, you said, hey, you know what? And I love this about you. You said, hey, give yourself a pat on the back. You know what? You've done a great job. At the same time, we're still dealing with this stuff and we have to take it on. We can't, no one's going to do it for us.
Exactly.
And you mentioned teachers and leaders, and in essence, we all are, I guess. But what I was getting at is the word that you used about being responsible, how 2019 was with training wheels, 2020 is not. We've watched a lot of stuff happen dynamic in the light worker circles with teachers, with leaders. We've watched people change and evolve their modalities and processes. We've watched people show their ass. We've watched people come out and channel straight purity. There's been all kinds of stuff going on there. But at the end of the day, I think that what you said, agenda attached to it, that eating or old paradigm-ish kind of thing, you're gonna get whacked.
Oh yeah.
That's just the way I'm reading it. I'm not saying it's gospel, but that's one of the reasons I've been very careful about taking any steps. And I've beat myself to death going, you know what? I should have done that, but let it go. And because I'd rather just make, you can't really make sure in this climate, you just have to jump in there sometimes. But I think that's important. The responsibility part of it, the responsible creator, the responsibility as a divine human, and the responsibility of accepting the power that we actually have, because we all have it, Yeah. So that's a good point that you brought. Yeah.
And being a responsible creator just means learning from your mistakes. It doesn't mean not making the mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. Like I will tell you right now, you're going to make a ton of mistakes in 2020. And if you didn't make a ton of mistakes in 2019, you're probably lying to me. But that's okay too. 2020 and 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, I can keep going forever. You're going to be making mistakes. Because as long as you're trying to grow in any way, shape, or form, you're going to make mistakes along the way. And there is nothing wrong with that. I've made a ton of mistakes this year. My organization made a ton of mistakes this year. It's how you handle those mistakes that matter. So if I make a mistake and then I don't handle it properly, then I'm going to be criticized. The world's going to come crashing down on me really fast. But if I make a mistake and I take ownership of that mistake and I express what I learned through that mistake, people are very forgiving and very open right now because they just want truth. And that's what I can say for anyone moving into 2020. all they want is truth. So if you just are truth, you're going to change people's lives and your own. And that means not talking about what you don't know about. So if you don't know anything about something, don't pretend to be a master of it. Because all you're doing is leading more people astray.
Yeah.
But if you truly do, like let's say that you are a mom and somebody asks you for motherly advice. You are a mom and they are a mother asking for advice. That is like the perfect way to connect. We all are here with great gifts and we all have so much wisdom to share, but stop sharing knowledge. Stop. Just stop sharing knowledge. Please, please stop. And then pause and acknowledge where you are in your wisdom and share from there. And the world will change overnight for you and everyone around you.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing that I saw in 2019 was people pretending to know something and speaking until they fell on their face in front of everyone.
Yeah. And there was obviously there was that, that transition we're making from, from survival, and of course the monetary aspect of that, this is what I did. And it's, a bird in the hand's better than two in the bush, but there's also this transitioning happening that you talked about at the top of the show and so on. It's so, yeah, it's understandable. And I love what you said too, but everybody's got their own thing going and you're not condemning anybody. Now, one of the things that we talk a lot about, in these circles, or people seem to talk a lot about, are the teachers, are the leaders, and all the, and you got to hand it to these people because no matter what they're doing, they're stepping up there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you got to give credit for that. But the other side of it is too, that whole herd mentality. The other side of it is, how does this parallel, when we might say, okay, I'm going to follow this path or this person and almost blindly, where you don't stay open, how is that type of energy going to, or soul going to be affected as we moved into 2020? Because if you don't have any training wheels on one way, it ain't going to be on the other way either.
Exactly.
So I would imagine there's going to be some falls there.
Oh yeah. There's going to be a lot of pull aparts, a lot of fall aparts. I mean, the most important thing I can say about 2020 and blind faith is it's still faith. So you're going in the right direction. And I don't think you'll be able to stay blind in that process. I really don't. I think that as we move forward into 2020, our vision, I mean, funny enough, because 2020, right? But our vision is going to be unlocked in a whole new way, right? So those of you that are following false prophets and blind faith, which there are still people out there doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you start to feel that it doesn't work anymore, then it's on you to change that.
Yeah.
I think there's still great wisdom out there in false prophets. They at least took some truths and tried to make it into something. And so you can learn a little bit, and that might be just your stepping stone. But you can learn what not to do just as well. It's about being open to the lesson. Like I said, we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to follow the wrong people. We're going to learn the wrong things. But how we handle that, when we realize that it's not right for us, how we choose to handle that is what matters. Because you can say, thank you so much for your teachings and your time. I've learned that it just doesn't align with me anymore. And I'm just grateful that you were there when I needed you. So goodbye. And that is a wonderful way to bow in respect to the individual for holding the space they did for you, but also honoring your own truth and walking away.
Yeah.
And I feel like as we get into 2020, there's going to be a lot of anger and resentment as more truth comes out. Like that, I think that's
more than there has
is.
been. More than there has been, you think?
I don't think that where we are now is nearly anywhere near where we're going to be in January with because we're still in total disclosure and less than 5% has been disclosed. So just be prepared, because when we get to that 30% mark, and it's good. I think there's going to be some anger and some resentment and some hurt feelings and things like that. But I also feel like there's going to be more appropriate ways to handle it.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll have gained enough divine intelligence within ourselves that we won't need to respond in a reaction.
Yeah.
I think that we'll be able to respond to it in kind. Yeah, there's going to be some people that can't, right? But for the majority of the high-level spiritual beings who have been following false prophets, who've been kind of in that like confusion and chaos of the illusion of spirituality, I feel like they're going to handle it really well. And then they're going to be a better teacher than the teacher they were studying with. And all their students are going to notice it, and it's going to come over, and it's going to be a very nice, seamless transition into authenticity and truth. That's what I feel. Is it going to happen at the beginning of the year? No. The beginning of the year is going to be pretty much chaotic. I'm just going to be honest. Like it's pretty much chaotic. I've looked at it and I'm just like, woo, I might just want to go sit in a cave for this time and do nothing. But actually I'm going to be out and about in the world a lot next year. So I don't get that opportunity. I was making a joke with somebody before I came on. It was like, it's really easy to sit in a cave and inflate yourself really big. But the problem is then you can't get out of the cave, because the moment that you do, you hit a rock and you deflate yourself. And so, you know, you can go hide in the cave, but you're not out in the world. And the key to where we're going is being out in the world as flowing wisdom, as an example, not hiding, just showing up, saying, hey, this is me. I'm here right now. This is who I am. I'm not hiding. I'm not behind masks. I'm right here for you to see. And I found that the most powerful healing sessions I've ever done were just me listening in a place of complete acceptance. Because when I did that, the client was like able to see all the things they didn't accept in themselves, because I was holding a pure reflection, and then they were able to heal all that on their own. Yeah. And so that idea out in the world, I think, is what's going to move the world forward. Because if enough people come out of their caves as true examples and go into the world, instant ripples, instant change. Yeah. And I'm personally planning on going to at least 10 events out in the world next year, which might not sound like a lot, but I only went to one so far, pretty much my whole life. So that's a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make it 11. Whenever I figure out when there's.
We'll see for sure. No, I don't mind going out. I also have the Center for Expansion project and other things to build, but I really want to go out in the world and say hi to people.
Yeah. And you know, you make a great point here too. And I've been talking about this, not to jump on the bandwagon, but that I get the feeling it's time to step up, you know, and it's not just going to these gatherings, because like I said on a video the other night, I'm like, you know, this is why so many of us, but now it's time for us to go out and mix. Co-creation and collaboration isn't just going to a festival or, you know, an expo or a gathering. It's us getting out into the population and just functioning with what we've brought down and embodied in, because it's not even what we say, it's just our energy and our presence, which is also showing us the chaos, you know, in the experience. You know, we can't be hiding in that cave, like you said. You know, another thing that really fascinates me about the last year and doing collaborations with you and other people, you know, it's interesting to me how the intel comes out from, let's just say 4 or 5 people that I might be thinking about, you being one of them, and it's said in a different way, but it's pretty much follows the same path. And a lot of that has been leading up to 2020, that there was some type of projected presence or energy or whatever you want to call it that's been playing. Now you can talk about, is the reptilians got shipped out or the archons are gone or whatever, right? But it almost gave like a sense of, hey, you know, everything's okay now. Where what I like about what you're saying is yeah, this stuff may be gone. We're definitely leveling up, and you can explain it that way, but that something's come in or something's gone out or both, but it's still a self-reliant journey. You're still not off the hook. You are the universe, and the work, we're here to expand, not to just flatline. We're actually here to expand the universe through our own efforts and actions, which means we've got to have a come to Jesus meeting. You know, it looks like around the 9th or the 10th of January.
It's going to be a strong January. It's the strongest January we've ever had. It's going to be really ridiculous, but in a good way. Yeah. So, and just for everyone that understands timeline merges, like we had one and we're still kind of at the end of it right now, but that was 2/3 now. So we're stronger now than we've ever been. We're 2/3 complete. So this final level, this chaos thing, is only going to be 1/3, right? So we're going to be bigger than it. Even though it's stronger, we're bigger. So when it comes in, we'll be able to integrate it faster than we did this one. So while it is chaos and it is a little bit more complicated and things around that, especially with like the timeline itself, it's still something that we are capable of doing and are able to do. And many people in that 300 million have trained their whole life for that one particular integration. Like they are ready for it. They have been in like training secret groups for like 20 plus years. They're like, okay, this is exactly, we've trained for this. We're ready. Let's stand together and rise together. And if we get burned to ash, we'll rise as phoenixes. Like they are ready. They know what they're here to do.
Yeah.
And then that 2.1 billion people, they know what they're here to do too. It's not like this is something that's going to surprise us. For the rest of humanity, it's going to surprise them. But that's okay because they need to be woken up. And if this is what does it, then that's what does it.
Now, do you think that you mentioned 5% disclosure so far, and I know you talk in different terms, which I totally resonate with, but just as a point of curiosity, the additional disclosure that happens, do you see the external part of that disclosure occurring simultaneously with the personal disclosures that come out?
It really depends. So if you're talking about like the 1%, as I call them, which I'm talking about the 1% of humanity that is what the golden mean is, the people that are at the high spiritual cap of the world right now, that are pioneering a level above it, they're already in like the 90s when it comes to disclosure. They already know what they need to know about everything that they need to know pretty much. And they're trying to help it to be understood down here. So that group is already there and they're holding that 90 and they're like saying, okay, cool. Now, when we get to the baseline, which is what we're talking about, like down here, which is way, way, way far away from here, that's 5%. That's the baseline. So everyone on the planet is now 5% disclosed. They know 5% of what they need to know.
Yeah.
This group, when it reaches 100, that will jump very fast. I don't know when this group's going to reach 100. That is a very, very complicated thing because there's more things being created every day. So you have to go really fast. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. But I can tell you the majority, the masses, there'll be about 30% sometime at the end of 2021, which is why I think that that's a huge year for us. We're supposed to come into a fifth dimensional technological revolution somewhere in 2023, which with everything that's going on, it might actually happen earlier. I know that my company, Void Space Technologies, is releasing our first product, which is personal Nexus reality devices. And it's changed everyone's life that has come into contact with them. I mean, we've sold 11,250 of them.
Wow.
And we haven't advertised. Like that's mind-blowing to me because it's a coin that's coded so strongly that you actually instantly come into a bubble around you that takes the negative ions and actually transmutes EMS and everything into biophotonic energy, which strengthens your field. So it's incredible technology, but it's technology that you would think the average person wouldn't be able to understand or feel. And yet everyone that I've handed one to is like, this is incredible. How is this possible? The reason that I mentioned this whole thing is because this is where we are as a world. Can you imagine how much easier life will be when you have your own personal Nexus reality that allows you to transmute any information that is negative around you that's coming into you and recode it to your own source frequency so that your body is healed? That's the first of many things that we plan to release in this world. So, and I'm only one person. I know that there are other inventors out there that have created even more amazing things. But the dawn of it hasn't even happened yet.
How important do you think, well, okay, we all understand, whether we like it or not, when it comes in, it's time to be totally honest with ourselves as these things are shown, take responsibility and so on, no victims. How important is collaboration and co-creation to our development as we go on?
I would say 100% imperative.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're going to be able to be a lone wolf after May. Restrictions are released completely, so the levels of depth that you can explore are beyond what you could usually explore as a human being. So when restrictions are completely gone, you're going to be able to play with beings from all over. And why wouldn't you? I can't think of a world where I wouldn't want to play with other people who could play at the same level I can play.
Yeah.
The reason that we were lone wolves is because there was no one else on the planet that could play at our level. So why not just do it ourselves if we know that we're going to get it right the first time?
Yeah.
And I know that's not the great mentality to have, but when you watch things fail over and over and over again because you delegate them, you lose hope in humanity. And so you just start doing everything on your own, which is what actually got us to the ascension. So it worked. But the thing is, now that that door is open, there is no going forward alone. All the doors require 2 or more. So there's like no way that you can keep going alone forever. Now, does that mean that you can't learn things being a lone wolf? No, you can still learn things. But your lone wolfdom will push you into a pack faster than you can snap your fingers. And you'll be blown away because it'll be a pack of lone wolves. So they'll be playing at your level and they'll be playing at your level together. And imagine what you can accomplish if you're able to do that. And I don't think we're going to get it right at the beginning. Like I said, I feel like 2020 is going to be a lot of mistakes, but I don't think it's going to be failures. And that's the difference. Failures are when you don't learn what you needed to learn. Like you're in that process, right? But a mistake is simply just you learning as you go. Yeah. I make probably 10, 15 mistakes a day, at least. They don't stop me. I work through them. I move forward. I learn, and then I succeed. And that's okay. When you go through 2020 and you're asked to process information you've never processed from dimensions you didn't even know could exist, you're probably not going to get it right the first time. Be okay with that. Because if you do get it right the first time, then celebrate. If you don't get it right the first time, celebrate as well. I'm a big fan of celebration, patting yourself on the back every time you attempt. Because most people aren't even going to attempt. They're going to sit back and be like, holy crap, this is so intense. I'm just going to sit here. And you're going to attempt something. And they're going to be like, wait a second, he just moved. How is that? He's moving. Do you guys see this? It's possible to move in this. And then they're going to get up and try because you led by example. Yeah. And yeah, you might have fallen on your face in front of everyone. And it might have been very, 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 very humiliating. And that's okay too. Doesn't matter. Because they're not going to remember that 10 to 15 days from now when they're walking beside you. Yeah. And that's what's important.
Humiliating to the human, power to the soul. I love that old saying. I'm not judged by the number of times I fail, but by the number of times I succeed, which is in direct proportion to the number of times I try.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, another thing that you bring up too, that I've been seeing too. Now, this is an interesting one. I don't know how this fits in, but it seems like it does. And that is let's just call it intellectual property. That is to stuff that people pull down or whatever the case is, which at some point in our evolution, as you've laid out, is gonna bring up for judgment or as trademarks, copyrights, and all that. But the not letting go that some of us, if not all of us, have had from time to time seems to be some type of resistance or block. I wonder how that's all going to work. Are we in a free universe? Is everything everyone's? I mean, you know what I mean? That's going to
I wouldn't say we're in a free universe. I would say that we are in a free verse, that we are in the process of transitioning into a free universe, right? And I think that it's important to understand that trademarks and things made things authentic. And before, it was really hard to trust whether something was authentic or not. So we created like a packaging system to make it look authentic. And for a lot of people, it actually did good in the world. But then people started learning how to manipulate that and make things that weren't good look good. Yeah. And anytime that you do anything, there's always going to be a counter product of it that can be chosen. And it's really up to the person to use it. So any tool can be beautiful. Any tool can also be extremely dangerous. So there's nothing bad or good about it. It's just what happened. As for when you talk about, open sourcing technology, I do see that coming. I do very strongly. I think Tesla did a great job by doing that with their cars and everything else. They know that they're the best at what they do, but they also are open to other people improving it. And I mean, what better way to do that? I think that that's important to come into a space of open sourcing. I don't know if I'll ever open source certain things that I've done, but I will always train people in them. And the reason is because certain technologies, when given to the wrong people at the wrong level of access or awareness, aren't necessarily ideal. So that's a lot of the technology that I write is time manipulation technology. And if used improperly, can cause problems. I've actually seen people rip off my technology and try to sell it to someone for a lot more than what we charge.
Yeah.
And then that person comes to me and is like, why would you give this person ability to accredit? And I'm like, go look at our website. That person's not on our list.
Yeah.
They taught it improperly. And I'm sorry that you got thrown all over the place, but it's designed to be taught a certain way. Because it's easy to look at something at the surface value and be like, oh, okay, that's what it is. Like, here's an example. This is the PNR. At a surface value, it looks like just a coin, right? Like, that's it. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. Not a big deal. But this thing is so strong that it changes lives. Like, this helps with pain, everything. And it's just a coin, but it's coded. That coding, I don't think anyone will ever be able to do at this level. But that's because it's the reason I came for, is this reason, to create an ability for people to go through life easier, to be outside while they're inside. Because biophotonic energy is what trees give off. So what better way than to be able to play however you want, wherever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
I would open source that technology in a heartbeat if I could. Energetically, I've given the plans out.
Yeah.
But only the people who are ready to get to that level that can actually copy this technology properly will have access to them. So it gets interesting with the open sourcing concept, because I think that a lot of things need to have patents and things around that for now. In the future, when there's no need to harm or hinder anyone's process anymore, no. At that point, I think that it's going to be a completely free world. But when does that occur? For me, I think it's going to be closer to 2030. So it is kind of one of those things. Another thing is like our logo, the MTVO logo. To us, we're working on creating a brand that establishes excellence and integrity. And so we don't allow anyone to use our brand unless they've gotten approval from us, which means that we've looked into them. They are a transparent company and all these certain things. And the idea is to create a brand that people can see and look at it and go, oh, okay, that's actually something I can trust, because MTVO does its research on these people and these things. So we will literally sue someone who uses our brand improperly. Like, if you don't actually go through the permission structure for it, we will sue them. The reason is because if someone uses that improperly, they're pretending to be something they're not. And that's dangerous in this particular phase of evolution where we are. So understanding where something is and where we're going, it's important to kind of see the steps along the way. I hope that I never have to sue anyone ever for using the symbol improperly. But if somebody pretends to teach something under the logo and they actually aren't approved, there has to be some legal recourse.
And I guess in regard to open source, I guess if we really look at, what we are, energy, consciousness, whatever, when we get to a certain point, when we create something, I mean, we do it energetically, and it is available. It is in the morphic field. We're actually walking into worlds, which has been the whole thing anyway, and so and there is something profound about, bringing this stuff into the physical and actually, working our way through it. And this is a good example that you're talking about. In essence, walking the talk. And I don't mean that from like but it's an integrity thing, not a right, wrong thing. It's an integrity thing. You got to do what you got to do, and I love what you said too about there's one of you. There's a whole bunch of people out there pulling stuff down and have for years, like you said.
Exactly.
And a lot of them, and I would just say right now, anyone listening live or on the replay, step up now. And like Jason said, even if you make a mistake, and we're all going to make them, I love what you said too, because I think this is part of the new energy. I think we've gotten to a point now where we can have enough self-value and enough trust and faith in what we really are and what we're a part of, that when we do make a mistake, we can say, okay, I did this, I understand, now I've learned, move on, leave it behind. You move on without any second guessing and any of the human condition. You just go forth as a divine human soul and continue creating and co-creating, collaborating.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the key to life, really, is like, live your life as best you can and forgive the rest. Yeah. If you can do that, you're going to have a great life. because you're opening to opportunities, you're expanding as you're completing those opportunities, which means you're opening to bigger opportunities, which means you're expanding, which means you're opening to bigger opportunities. And I can tell you right now, at the top of the game, there is so much room. It's actually infinite room at the top of the game. We want everyone at the bottom of the game to be at the top of the game, because then there is no game. But, you know, no one is going to restrict you from getting to the top of the game if you do it the right way. And the only way that you can do it to get to the top of the game, there's only one way. And I know people will probably get upset about this, but it's really easy. You take responsibility for what's in front of you, and you expand into that thing that is in front of you. And then you take responsibility for the next thing in front of you, and you expand into that thing until eventually you're so expanded that you're at the top of the game naturally, because you elevated without ever trying. And that's the key. It's an effortless evolvement process. All you have to do is be willing to do what's in front of you. I run 7 companies right now and 2 nonprofits, and it's a lot. And I'm going to probably end up opening 180 companies in the next 30 years. But every time that I move forward and I run into something, or every time my team runs forward and it runs into something where there isn't something already there, we go and create a company to do it. The Center for Expansion, there wasn't a fiber optics company in Anna, Texas. So we're thinking about opening Void Communications so that we can get fiber to our property so that we can do what we need to do. And it will bring infrastructure into all of Anna and 40 miles around. It's going to cost a lot, but no one else is doing it. So what else does MTVO do? We step up and try to do what no one else is doing to be an example so that other people can then play with that. And that's the goal of life. Like, whatever's in front of you, if you face it and you don't wait for other people to face it for you, you're going to evolve, you're going to grow, you're going to have even more fun facing things. But when you first start, there's crap in front of you, things you probably don't want to do. I always give the example of having to learn IRS tax law so that I could get my company the status it needed. I did not want to do that. I looked for lawyers. I spent lots of money trying to get other people to do it. But in the end, no one could do it. So I ended up having to do it. It's because it was in front of me and I tried to delegate it. I was like, no, you take this. Please, you take this. But I wasn't moving forward. I wasn't evolving.
That's one of the epiphany. It's beyond an epiphany that I got in the last few days, as I was, as I was going through it on a personal level, but also understanding it on a level where I could maybe write about it or whatever, which was the shame and the blame and the victim and how you keep that going. And what came to me was expectation. We always hear, if you have expectations and, you're misaligned or whatever, but I got expectation. If you have an expectation, do something about it. In other words, if you have an expectation of something that in front of you, like you say, you do it, and that's true, because it doesn't always mean that you're literally going to have to do every single step. But the fact that you move towards it and you take that responsibility, then, as you know, things start to reciprocate, and maybe you meet some more, those kind of things. So let's recap this, because I want to make sure. Now we're moving beyond warp speed. We're going into here in the next couple of days. I mean, we're really amping it up. And what that means is we're going to see more and more of our shift in front of our face. And it's a great time to be brutally honest with yourself. And if you have to be
without beating yourself up,
cave. Yeah, exactly.
That's key.
Exactly.
Be brutally honest with yourself without beating yourself up.
And like you said, in some credit, give yourself a pat on the back. All of us
absolutely
are valiant. I don't want to sound like a broken record. We're going to January. We're going to have a massive injection, a blessing of chaos to show us more contrast, but also to give us the opportunity, to integrate it all, to own it all, so we can further expand. And this is going to move on throughout the first 5 months of the year into May. And then the norm is going to become like 90 data points, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So what's important to understand, though, in that process is that the feminine rising will actually balance out with the masculine rising. And then I think it's like May 19th or May 20th, the feminine rising dissolves and the masculine rising dissolves. And what's left is we rise together. And that is like,
right on.
I cannot wait for that day. because right now there's still
Sounds-
hidden aggression between males and females. And
Yeah.
it's not that they even want it. Neither party wants it. That's what's so fascinating. I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, I don't even want to go through this. And they're like, I don't want to go through this. It's like, why are we going through this? And it's because the collective is playing out this so that it can balance out. And, you know, we only have a few more months of that. So the feminine rising and the masculine rising, like finally we rising, is going to be incredible. But yeah, we have a few months left before that happens. And also the chaos, just so you know, the chaos timeline will fully integrate by the 30th of January. So we will actually be a solid timeline by that date. We'll all be the same world by the 12th of January, but we actually won't be through the chaos timeline integration aspect of it until the 30th-ish, somewhere around there. Maybe even the 28th. It depends on how humanity handles it.
It sounds like May is going to be a very sexy month.
It is. Yeah. No, I agree 100%, because by May, you're going to know yourself at a whole new level. I mean, fifth dimensional sexuality is going to be coming online. A lot of very wonderful gifts coming together. We're going to be able to come into space with another, like if you're a male and you come into space with a female, a lot of that internal programming that's causing you to want to like play with them in a different way, that body mind stuff, it's going to have dissolved. So you're going to see very meaningful connections, like, and not like in a, I must have sex with you level, or a forceful or an aggressive thing. And actually men are already going through this. I've seen so many men go into their vulnerability, and I just celebrate it every single time, because I hear all the time about what women are doing. And I think that that's great. And I'm very grateful that women are doing that. But men are also doing a lot right now. And getting to see like men finally getting some respect for the process of vulnerability that they're going through. I mean, even my own internal students are talking about like how they're actually starting to hold men in their arms and like put them in their lap and like just hug them and let them bawl, like just cry out their eyes. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing that I've ever heard, is that men are coming into their vulnerability, women are coming into their sexuality, and there's just so many amazing things around that. I met this amazing woman, her name's Sierra, at Odyssey, and she does what it, like, she's not called this, but I called her this, and other people have, but like a pussy oracle. And what she does is she looks at people's yonis and looks at the roadmap of it and helps them to unlock the trauma that's inside their bodies so that they can fully heal. And listening to her tell her story changed my life. And I was just like, I want that for men. I really want that for men. Why did we not have that for men? And it's because women have been able to explore that more. And I feel like that's going to happen for men someday. I feel like we're going to get there. I've heard very recently that there's this thing called de-armoring, which is working with the prostate for men. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Lots of things are finally starting to come out that are helping men to heal as well. And so now it's the feminine rising. But while the feminine rising is happening, men are realizing so much on how to rise together. So when we do come to May, we're going to be in that coupling, and it's going to be like, hey, this is not from me being like needing you or being aggressive or anything. This is just me being open with you. And then the women are going to be like, this is me being open with you. And it's just going to be magical. And so, yeah, I think May is going to be a very sexy month, especially after the 21st.
That resonates with me. Man, I appreciate it. I got to get on to another show in 17 minutes. Man, it's been too long.
Okay.
We could talk for like another 2 or 3 hours. I got like 5 subjects in my head right now. Just the one you just brought up. You know, even in regard to the journey of the man, because the journey of the masculine is coming to the surface. And wow, there's, you know, I was talking to Morgan about this. I was listening to, I believe it was Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about 80% of the people that are on YouTube are men. And I'm looking at the metrics, which I think are better on YouTube than they are Facebook, because YouTube, you actually have to watch something and put time into it. 95% of the viewers are women in these types of communities. So, you know, I know the men are out there. I know they're scared. I've gone through a lot of this stuff myself. And you're right. It is time they start to get some credit. And I think the more of us, again, here we go, step up and talk about these things, the more the brothers will, because it is important. To me, that is the tipping point, is when there's a huge influx of vulnerable, open men, you know, masculine energy that really starts to kick it up, this thing will just explode. I mean, it'll
I
probably
agree.
blow away all prognostications and intel that's come in and change the whole timeline, so to speak. But
Yeah, I look forward to the day that men and women are rising together and it becomes we rise instead of feminine rising or masculine rising or any of these duality games that have caused so many problems. So I think that that's going to happen sooner than we imagine. And I see it constantly. I see more and more men coming together to work on their stuff. And like I see more brotherly stuff. While I was at Odyssey, I hugged someone so strongly and so much love, like we knew each other from other lives, that we both
yeah.
crying kind of thing. And it was beautiful, so much healing in that. And the coolest part is all it is just being open and holding in that space of openness. And it allows others to go into that space. And I think that men hugging other men is an incredible thing that has been kept away for a long time. When I was a kid, we were only allowed to handshake.
Yeah.
You don't even hug your father very often. Like that's how I was raised. And so there's a lot of that. And breaking and taking that apart, like being called homosexual for wanting to hug people. Yeah. There's so much out there, so much stigma for men working with other men to heal, that I think that we're going to see a new trend in the next year. I really do. I feel there's going to be a lot more men talking about their process coming on and like just sharing it openly.
Well, I'm
so I would love to be part of that change. I have no problem talking about my process.
Yeah, I'm going to be one of them. You know, I've been talking to Morgan about it on this trip. We've been in the car for 30 hours, but yeah.
Wow.
I've talked to some men. Yeah. And because, you know, and again, I always try to break things down to the actual literal, like, what are you feeling, this and that. So many of the things that we've attached to, and understandably, that we're going to let go of. And that's like, you know, and for my own self, it's been like, okay, I got rid of all this. Now, am I even a man now?
Exactly.
You know? Like, where's my masculinity? Where's my power? But last night, for instance, you know, as we commune every night, stuff came in, things happened to my body, things came to me, you know, in revelation, epiphany, and so on, and code and intel. And it was extraordinary. And what I saw, I could probably only, you know, I could maybe encapsulate like 5% of it and maybe even be somewhat lucid about it. But tell you what, you know, it's exciting what's happening. Thank you for the work you do and the team that you guys have put together and what y'all do every day. And I look forward to the next collaboration. I wish I had more time today, but it's always good getting together with you. Yeah, it's always good getting together with you. And I look forward to the next time.
The next time that we talk, it'll be amazing, just like it was today. Thank you so much for providing a platform for people to just share and have great discussions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem, brother. I appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody. Bye-bye.